Hey everybody, thanks for having me. This is awesome. It's been a while since I spoke at Twitch, and actually it was a different building last time. All right, so while I was getting this talk together, I realized that I'm probably talking to two different audiences right now. We're probably talking to a group of you that work for bigger companies and bigger studios that actually have a marketing department behind you to help support your games. And then there's the other half that probably is on the other end of the spectrum that does not have a marketing group, that is a small independent studio or an animator helping their friends. So I'm actually going to split this talk into two talks. I'm going to have one that covers, half is going to cover how marketing and animation and animators can work better together to create amazing assets. And the second half will kind of focus on how to create performant video for your own independent projects in your indie side of things. So let's get started. First off, let me tell you why I'm talking to you. So last year I was at a GDC party with Mike, and we're having a couple beers because that's what you do at GDC. You go to like 3 talks and have like 40 beers. So we were like on beer, I don't know, 30. And Mike's like, hey, we're talking about marketing, we're talking about animation and so forth. And there's a lot of issues with marketing and animation. Sometimes the art that's created isn't kind of what you would expect. And so we're talking about solutions, and he was kind of like, Jim, you're in marketing now. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, you really should give a talk and let everybody know how to fix these changes. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be great. And then I totally forgot about it. And then he remembered a year later and said, hey, why don't you come out and give that talk? So I'm here today to kind of bridge that gap between marketing and animation, how we can get these two creative disciplines together. But before we jump into the juice of things, let me quickly introduce myself. So my name is Jim Zachary. I'm a creative director at Zynga in the marketing department. But in my past life, like 2.5 years ago, I was head deep in animation. And it wasn't just like I took an animation course or did a couple games with a friend of mine. I was like honestly into animation. I was lead on a lot of projects, creative director or lead animator and animation director on a lot of big name titles. Some you see up there. I was basically I lived and breathed animation for 18 years. And then through that career, I was also helping out marketing with things. I was kind of helping out assets, putting my foot in their business a little bit. And 2.5 years ago, I was asked to join the marketing team full time over at Zynga, and I jumped at the opportunity. The new challenge thrilled me, and so I joined. And I'm now one of 2 creative directors in the user acquisitions department at Zynga. And I think it's important that we quickly cover what user acquisition is, what it is. I just realized my timer's off. Okay, user acquisition. I'm going to keep this super brief because this isn't a marketing talk about user acquisitions. But this is how most mobile games are actually marketed these days. So it is kind of important. Basically, there's a lot of different types of marketing out there. There's like brand marketing, social marketing, affiliate marketing, grassroots marketing. I actually think at one time I looked at a website and they said there's 151 different types of marketing. I only know like 3. So, but on the user acquisition side of things, we really focus on creating performant ads that get viewers and potential players basically from like their social channels to go to the app store to download the game and to play the game. So we basically touch creatives for static ads, email campaigns, video ads, cross-promotional assets, all the way through the funnel to the app store, which is Google Play or the Apple App Store, and we create icons, app previews, screenshots, feature images, all that good stuff. So that's basically why Mike wanted me to talk with you, because I've had experience on both sides. I've worn the animator trucker hat, and I've also worn the marketing, but not the name in marketing wears fedoras, but they do dress nicer in marketing, so I put a fedora up there. That's just the way it is. So before we start, let's quickly establish kind of some baseline, just so we know where everybody's kind of coming from, the worlds we kind of come from. First off, is animators. I assume that's almost everybody in this room, right? Are you guys all animators? Yeah. So yeah, you guys are animators. You know who you are. You all look just like this dude. We all do. Yeah, animators. It's your job to bring life to characters and to the environments that resonate with the viewer, right? And they feel responsive and convincing to the player. It's got to look good and it has to play good. I mean, I think there's like 3 talks that just talked about that. You guys are deeply involved with the project at like a very, very, very micro level. You know every nuance about the game, the characters, the narratives, their backstories, button combos, little cheats, workarounds, hacks. You guys really know it all. You'd be considered like a hardcore user. Where on the other side, whoops, I jumped one. Marketing, we all look like that guy. Marketing it's our job to get people to install and spend in the game. Really comes down to getting people in the game and to spend. And we take a much more like broader look on things. We're not so into the little nuances of the game, and we know enough about the game, but we don't know, the characters' backstories or like what level do you fight the queen. Would be considered more of a casual user. But we also know how to move that game and make it branch out to a bigger group and bigger audience. So basically, we come from different worlds, and that's totally okay, right? That's something that really should be embraced, and it's healthy. Like animators, and I'm going to use you guys to kind of clump you into like development groups and the creative groups inside of a game. But you guys are on the ground floor, right? You're like, or we were, because I was in there too. But we're making the dirt, and we're in there in the day-to-day stuff. We're creating this little stuff, and we're in deep, and we don't realize this amazing mountain that we've actually created. Or on marketing side, we're so like pulled back, and we're looking at. We do see that huge, beautiful mountain that you guys have created, but we just haven't seen all the little fine little details that you guys spend so much time creating, like in tight, like the flowers and the trees and all that stuff. And that is totally okay. It's like it's our strength together and our perspectives that complement each other and actually really work well, like peanut butter and jelly or cheese whiz and Ritz crackers. It's kind of like our little delicious parts are good, but when we combine them, we become greater than the whole. So I want to talk about how to make that happen. We are different, but we're still really part of a team. And when I say we're part of a team, it's like we really do want everybody in marketing and everybody in game development and the animation side really wants to make this game a huge, smashing success. And so I want to talk about how do we get over our differences, right? Because there are differences. I know everyone here has experienced that, where it's just like marketing's not quite there, and I've been on that side too, where I just shook my head. But let's talk about that. Let's get together and figure out how to get these two departments together, so we can create great work as a team. So here we go. The first part is communication. I really cannot believe I'm starting a slide with communication, and it really makes me kind of want to punch myself. But it is super important because it's like the building block of any relationship is communication. So marketing really should be communicating their marketing plan and what they plan on doing. In animators and the dev side, you guys should be communicating and sharing your amazing assets and the work you've actually created. And it happens sometimes now, but it's like two producers, right? So you have the marketing producer and you have the game producer, and they're talking. But like the animators and the people down really making the work, and then the creative side on the marketing team doing the work, those two aren't talking. And those are the two that really do need to be talking, because there's a lot of information that can be shared back and forth and assets that can be used that makes everything better. Another thing is trust. So I know that saying goes like, trust has to be earned, but I really feel like when devs come together and animators come together with marketers, I think we should just kind of assume that there is a trust there and kind of start there and let it like distrust has to be earned. Give them the benefit of the doubt. And I'll tell you a secret too. In marketing, we have complete faith and trust in anything that an animator does. I mean, you guys create amazing stuff, and if we used correctly in the right channels, it's so golden. But sometimes we can't use it all. Don't get upset if a piece of art that looks great and it's awesome and all your friends like it and the game team likes it and it goes to marketing and we can't use it. I want to give a good example. It'd be like a neck snap animation, like a really versatile thing that's just like amazing and it shows off the game and it looks great and you have good camera angles, but it's like the subject matter just wouldn't work where we're going to market this stuff. So I think it's important to kind of trust and understand each other, that we know kind of where these things are going. And if you do me a favor too, and I struggled with this when I was on the development side, is kind of having faith in the marketing that they kind of know what they're doing, that they're used to selling games and they have like insights and metrics to help support their hypothesis about the marketing department and the marketing plan. They usually have best practices we can lean into. We know it's been successful. We know it's performed in the past, so we could tap into that. We know how to broaden the audience and how to move beyond just your core users and kind of stretch that brand a little bit to pull in more players. Right, like that is something that the marketing part is actually really quite good at, without breaking the brand. But we could stretch it and pull some people in. And trust really starts with just starting to get to know each other. Right, this is a great thing to do with the art team and the dev studio and the art team on the marketing side. You're bypassing this whole top layer, by the way, when you're doing this. go have drinks or go get lunch. It's amazing how much collaboration happens when creative people have food in their mouth or a drink in their hand. Like, it's great stuff, and it happens. It's a great way to get past one, the whole formality of everything, asking for a request or, hey, do you know where this character is located? It also helps you keep things informal and casual before like you hit these crazy, crazy deadlines and unrealistic schedules. And it also puts a name to the face. And if you work remotely, you could start like a Slack room, or you could start a email chat group with the marketing creative groups, where you could just share stuff. You could talk shop, you could share animations, you could share poses, you could share funny game captures. They enjoy that stuff just as much as you guys do, and they'll share stuff back that they see that's out there. Another great exercise to do with the animation department is, I call it scrapbooking. But as you guys are working on your games, you're going to get fed a lot of advertisement. You're going to get stuff from when you're on Facebook, just from researching. You're going to see ads that kind of target your demographic and your game user base. Collect those things, scrapbook them, save them for later. Share those out with the marketing team. Those are also great spots for discussions when it comes to actually marketing your game. You could start with saying, "Hey, remember the ad we saw a couple weeks back? It's really good stuff to do." And you guys have a special eye for that stuff as artists. You have a special eye, probably more so than the marketing team. So really grab that. Grab stuff that makes you get excited, and just we have to do that early. It's super important. Do this well in advance before there's the unrealistic deadlines. Start early. We don't have to wait until the game is about to launch before we start thinking about marketing, because marketing has started a long time ago, like months before the game is actually launched. So start early. If you really want to get involved too, contact the marketing department 4 or 5 months out, and they'll love it. We'll totally embrace you and be like, yes, I actually do I'll do a fist pump if I get an animator like, hey, we want to share some stuff. I'll be like, yes. Another way we can work better as a team is to be understanding and respect that both marketing and animators are doing everything they can to really make a great game. Animation, you guys have to finish the game, and without you, it's like the game doesn't exist. So you got to be heads down to finish that stuff up. Marketing side, by the time you guys are wrapping up, we may be on another game because it just takes a long time for this stuff to get moving. So a little understanding goes a long, long way, right? Like a P0 that maybe a P0 for marketing, or maybe a P0 for an animator is like a P4 for someone else, a priority 4 for somebody else. It also helps to understand that marketing, for the most part, if it's from a big studio, does have a marketing plan that's actually been pushed up the ranks within the studio. So it's sometimes that big ship is really hard to turn. If you find something really golden and you want to share it, it's hard to make that twist into that turn. But if that stuff if you're interested in that stuff, ask the marketing team to see their marketing deck. There's nothing more than marketing teams love to do than share their marketing decks. I mean, it's the highlight of their day. So they will share it with you, and there's a lot of great stuff in there that you guys can look at and you can learn from, and you might even be able to lend a helping hand. And this is the great stuff. A really good way for teams to bond is really to work together on some assets. So if you can, reach out, offer your help early. As I mentioned before, it's super important to get it early enough where we can use it. But we love your assets, and we definitely would use them. And if you are creating art, try to create stuff with big deltas. So it won't be like the same character, in 3 different arm cross poses. We need big extremes, because that's what really makes the ads feel different. And that's where we see big performance lifts in ads, is when stuff's different. So different characters, different locations, different poses, doing different things. It's all great stuff. If you don't have time to create assets, which I don't expect anyone does when they're making a game, offer to help with reviews. You could help out by just doing little sketchovers or giving feedback on an outsourced animation. All that stuff's really great, and it really does help us as well. And why I'm mentioning lending a hand, it's totally okay not to help. I mean, we really don't expect the dev teams to really help, because they are focused so much on making the game. Just don't sign up for something that you can't deliver, because that's what causes a little friction on the market side and on the game side. If you say you're going to try to help do something and you can't really do it, so if you offer to help, really try to help and try to do it in a timely manner. All right, we got 2 more bullet points here. One sip, quick sip. A toolkit. So a toolkit, a toolkit is really, really important. And you probably have one if you're at a big studio, because you use it for your external development. But it also works really well for marketing. It gives us the resources to actually create great work that's on brand with your title. Obviously, it includes stuff like fonts and color palettes and logos and UI elements. But as animators, throw other cool stuff in there. Throw like pose libraries in there and rigs and the characters that are actually rigged instead of just in their T poses. We'll get those sometimes where they're living their T poses and like, what can you do with that? You can't do anything. And if you want to take a step farther, create renders of the characters, like really interesting renders, and do them really big, and make sure there's nothing that's cutting them off on the frame, because we get stuff too sometimes where an arm or legs cut off, and you can only use it in one area of the frame, and there's so many different sizes that we just can't use that asset. But having a solid toolkit can really make or break your game for both external development and for marketing. Last is the last item would be I called it ABM, is always be marketing. Market on your own. As a developer, you don't have to have a marketing team behind you. And this is really important for those indie people out there. You don't have to have a developer or a marketing team behind you to really help you sell your game. And you could start way before you even start on your game. You market yourself as the development studio, or as the artist, or as the animation group. And you could focus stuff on developer diaries, daily photos of your project. You could celebrate your failures and your success. People love to hear about when you fail, and they also love to hear about when you succeed. Make it more about those creative renegades, creating this amazing new product, this amazing new game, and not really about the game itself. This will also help you kind of go past if you have this sort of IP issues. It's a different approach than your marketing team will take, and it will pull in a different audience, which is super, super helpful. And it really kind of flies under the radar too. So a lot of game developers, if you're a big studio, they don't notice that stuff when you're doing that stuff. Simon's actually pretty good at that. All right, Simon. All right. So those are my 8 recommendations for improving animators and marketing relationships, and help us align both these disciplines into really how to create great art. So we have communication, we have trust, we have really getting to know each other, that's going to be, if I had to flag one thing, I'd flag that one. Start early is another important one. Understanding, lend a hand, toolkit, and always be marketing. Now I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to move over to addressing more of the independent group. But before I switch gears, I kind of actually feel like I have to say something, because I'm now marketing. I've made that crossover. There are some marketing departments that just make really bad decisions. They really do. I don't know what it is, if it's like they're hungover, or they just had a long day, or they had a spicy burrito at lunch, whatever causes them to do it. We make some really bad decisions. So I'm going to take a second and apologize for all my colleagues, right, that have totally jacked up your work, who have picked the worst pose possible, who pay no attention to IKA, who compress the hell out of a video, or do some sort of crazy color treatment on top of it, throw text right over the top of your character. I am sorry that we do that stuff. Really am. It should not happen. So please accept my apology on behalf of all the marketing people. I almost feel like we need a hug. Can I get a hug? No? Okay. I'm up here by myself. Oh, yes. There we go.
Apology accepted.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. Now we can move on. That was nice. I felt like we made some accomplishments there. Okay, so switching gears. So now I'm talking to the indie people out there, the independent developers or the animators that really want to help a friend sell their game. This is a little more meaty. You could actually take some of this stuff and make your game better, like in a day or two. For those of you that don't have a marketing department, this is for you. So I'm going to go through some best practices that I've learned over the last year and a half doing videos for games, for mobile games. And I just want you to note that this is like one step in like a larger scheme, right? I'm going to assume that you've optimized. Well, first I'm going to assume that you have a killer product, right? You need a killer product, and that you have your stores like working and is great. Your app store, so Apple Store or Google Play. So I'm going to focus just on the video part. This is just one of many things. So here it goes. These are my top 10 suggestions for mobile beta videos for the indie game developer. So here we go. We have first piggyback, right? Do your homework and really study the competitors, what they've done before you. Take notes and scrapbook. Again, there's that term. Write down the verbs they use. What are they highlighting in their game? The visual languages they use, and use these as starting points to explore in your own creative. I mean, it'll literally leapfrog you in front and where you should be when you start a project. And if you're going up against a bigger competitor, you really should look at their ads because they probably do have a UA department or a UA person, user acquisition person, that has like really tested and optimized this funnel. So what you're seeing when you see their ads, you're seeing the best stuff that has performed for them. So take that and use it as the starting point, and you're going to really accelerate your learnings. It's a great way to kind of a little cheat on getting your stuff out there. Next is solve for your channels. And when I mean channels, it's like social channels. At Zynga, we solve mostly for Facebook. That's where most of our audience comes from. And it's probably the same for any other developer out there. Facebook and Instagram are the two big ones. But if you think that your potential players are on Snapchat or Pinterest or LinkedIn or whatever, really work and focus on getting those players. Don't worry about creating some sort of crazy thing for a trailer for a TV spot because you're not there yet. You got to find out. First, you got to get users, and you have to find out what they want before you move on and worry about investing all that money in creating some sort of like crazy, epic trailer. It just won't work. Another thing when you're finding your channels, you need to make your video. It needs to feel native to that channel. Like it should feel like it can live and breathe within that area. And each of these social channels really behaves differently. So you got to like study what's happening there and see what the other advertisers are doing in that space. And make it feel like it belongs in that frame, right? And if we create a video that works in Facebook, it's not going to work so well in like Snapchat and vice versa. They're just different beasts. Third is work fast. This is hard because if you're trying to market your own game, you kind of want to have like the perfect video, right? That's not important. You want to work fast. You want to do a bunch of short little videos. Again, with big differences, big deltas, so they look different, and you can send them to different people, and you can see what works and what doesn't, what kind of sticks. You're not creating a marketing campaign here. You got to move beyond that whole thing of like the old school. No one's sitting there in front of a TV forced to watch your stuff anymore. You got to do these fast little hit videos. Now they should look nice. Don't get me wrong, but they shouldn't look super super nice. You should be having like 2 days per video. Because you don't know if these videos are going to perform. You don't even know if they're going to work. So don't invest the time until you know what works and what draws in users. And you'll see from the piggybacking and the scrapbooking that a lot of your competitors, their videos, you're going to look at and be like, what the hell are they thinking? This looks like whatever. It doesn't look good. But it's performing. It's working. There's something about it in the channels they're using that attract people, and they're downloading and they're interacting with their game, which is what you want. All right, length of a video. So the length of a video should be 10 to 30 seconds long. That's we found to be the most performant. But you don't have to be like so a stickler. It has to be 10 or second. It can be 12 seconds or 17 seconds, just enough to kind of tell your little story. But the average viewer on a social channel for a video is 3 to 5 seconds. So your video has to hit hard in those first 3 seconds. Because remember, I don't have my phone, but people are looking at stuff like this now. They're just scrolling through. It's really fast, and your video is gone. So that you have to make sure that first 3 to 5 seconds is like, that's the nugget, that's the gold. It's got to be super compelling and pull people in. And since these are so tight and they're so small, really focus on just one selling point. Like your game, it may be awesome. I'm sure it is, right? You have progression, customization, power-ups, crazy competition, collections, whatever it is. And I know it's tempting to put all those in one big, long video to show off your game. Don't do it. Break each one of those off into like individual videos, and the video should just focus about progression, or focus about customization, or focus on power-ups, right? Just focus on one selling point. And as you send all these videos out, you'll find, and it will surprise you, that certain ones will attract more people, and those people will spend more in your game. And then you're going to want to move your resources and double down on like maybe it's power-ups, or maybe it is collection or progression, right? But you don't know that until you get all that stuff out there first. Try different stuff. This thing looks so nasty. Has anyone had a spaghetti bagel? I don't know. All right, I'm not going to try that thing. Anyways, you should try different themes in your video. All right, we call them themes, but it's like try gameplay, try live action, try putting it in a frame inside of a phone, try having it hovering back and forth, try using a finger to like interact with gameplay. Try all these different things. It's super important because you'll find that some stuff you may just put. Your gameplay may not work, but you put it in the phone and add a finger touching the top of it, and all of a sudden now that ad is really working well for you, and it is pulling people in, and people are downloading your game. I just take a little side jaunt here. keep track of the stuff that works, guys, because it's stuff that you're actually building a powerful backlog of best practices that you can use when you're moving forward. So, right now you may be creating, 10 ads that are like 10 seconds long and they're kind of scrappy, but you're finding out what works and you can narrow in, and now you have the same budget, but now you're not doing 10 ads, now you're doing like 2 ads, but you're really honed in on what's worked and what's performed in the past. Have a beginning, middle, and end. And I didn't put story here because in this room, and I'm a sucker too, I gave a talk at GDC about story alone like 2 years ago. You don't need an epic story for your little 10-second ads, but you do need a beginning, middle, and end. And they all do need to kind of, your ending should come back and connect to the beginning. That's why I think this little graphic is great, because that's the story you need to tell in your ad. Like, it's just simple, it's there, you can digest it, no pun intended, but you can snap into it. That's another good one. You need a simple story, right? It needs a beginning, middle, and end. Nothing epic, but it does need to have a tight little story. Audio engineers, close your ears. People don't have music, or they don't have audio on. Only 20% of people on social channels have audio on. So, though you do need some sort of audio track, a music track, don't spend time, or even more than an hour or two, working on audio. What we like to do is we capture the gameplay without the music, edit it together so you hear the ching, 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 ding, ding, whatever the sound effects are from the game, and then we just drop a music track on top and call it a day. That works just fine. I missed one. Stock footage. This is gold, guys. This is like, for a while I felt like it was cheating, like I wasn't out shooting my own stuff, but there's so much stuff and great art that you can pull from stock footage that helps support your games. Like, you can get iPhones that have like the middle masked out, so now you can drop your gameplay inside an iPhone device. They have live footage of people playing the game, and then when you cut to your game, it actually looks like you went out and shot this person playing, and now they're playing your game. All that stuff really works. They have fingers, they have effects that you could drop on top, they have fire and all that. It's really a great resource for the independent developer. And you're going to spend probably a couple $100s in here, but it's really worth it. If you were to hire an artist to do it, it'd be more anyway. So tap into the stock footage. And then lastly, for those that do watch your whole video, even though it's not a good portion, those, we call them explorers, those people are really interested in your product. So having a strong end slate with like a good call to action that tells them to go somewhere, it's really worthwhile. So focus on having like a strong end slate with a good call to action. Don't use stuff like download or install that makes it feel like you're working. Like here we use like play for free and make it look like a button because somebody will click on it. Like play is a good verb to have in there. Join, experience, stuff that's a little more exciting than like download now. Download just sounds like you got to wait for something to download. Doesn't sound great. And then the app store badges are great to have in there too because they're kind of a second call to action, and they make the brand feel a little stronger, in my opinion, especially if you're not a well-known brand. So that's that. Those are my 10 suggestions on old beta videos for indie game developers or animators out there that are going to help them out. Piggyback, solve for your channels, work fast, 10 to 30 seconds. And remember, those first 3 to 5 seconds are really the golden nuggets. One selling point: try different stuff. Have a beginning, middle, and end. No sound. Don't worry about sound. Use stock footage and have a strong end slate with a strong call to action. And just another reminder too, when you advertise, because you're going to be doing your own stuff as an independent developer, when you advertise on Facebook or Instagram stuff, there's so many metrics that you can get, and it's not a sexy task, especially if you're a developer and you're used to working with like really creative stuff. You're going to feel like you're doing accounting, but keep track of all that stuff because it is really, really worthwhile to find out what works in your game and what you can do to actually sell your game. And it's exciting to see, like, I mean, you almost can tell the future sometimes. You can be like, oh, if I use a live action finger, and I use this gameplay clip of, like, I don't know, match 3 or something, and I mix these together, the ad's going to perform, and you can almost like guarantee the ad's going to perform just from the research you've done on your other creative. So it's super important. And I want to throw out there too is like, we're in the business of creating fun for people. We make games. We're in the game industry. Your ads and your games should reflect that fun, right? It's important to kind of breathe a little like fun and happiness into it. It's just one of those. It makes the ad feel a little better. So if there's any way to insert a little fun and cuteness to the ad, I highly recommend it too. And that's all I got. That's it. That's my talk there. Actually came in pretty close on time. Yeah. Do you want to hug again? Okay. Thank you. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at jlzachary@gmail.com if you want to talk marketing, games, animation. Oh, I'm going over there. Oh, okay. Do I turn this off?
So James is going to join me over here. We've got some questions from the chat. I have some questions for him as well because, like he was saying, this was something that I was really interested in having here because every studio I've worked at, you run into that situation of why did they choose that pose for this cover? Why did they ask me for input on this pose or this animation? And when I gave it, and then it didn't go anywhere. And so I always see those as like missed opportunities, but also whatever they're looking for is different than what we're looking for. So here you go. Let's chat. All right, so we'll get before I get to my questions, we got a question here on the board, and it says, "What are deltas?"
Oh.
This is from dude. Hey, yeah.
Hey, dude. Hey. Yeah, sorry that I shouldn't do that because I actually get mad when people speak and stuff that doesn't make any sense to people outside the industry. The delta is just a big difference, right? So we want to see. It's just like an extreme variation of whatever you're doing. So if you're painting or you're creating a pose where someone's like standing there looking ornery, the next pose, a big delta would be like him jumping up angry with his mouth wide open, his fist back or something. So it's just we want to see big differences.
Contrast.
Yes, contrast.
There you go. Use those animation terms. So I don't know. Tim is already crawling, so that's where we're at. What is something that you thought you like something that you expected to be true when you transitioned from like all the awesome animation stuff you did into marketing that was proved false pretty quickly?
That's a good question. There was a lot of stuff, and I was drinking from a fire hose for a while. But I'd say one of them is something I didn't expect was just how creative the marketing department really is. Like they actually do have, at least Warzinga is. I'm sure every company is a little different, but our department was really strong. We had people that could easily be making games. I think there's a little misunderstanding, at least on my side of things. Going through the industry and the people I've been around, where marketing was kind of where people would go that couldn't make it into the game industry. But that wasn't the case, and so that really was a nice, pleasant surprise for me. Is that it was like, whoa, these people do know what they're doing, and they can really rock it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is like when you came into it with this animation background? Do you feel like there were things that you brought that maybe the marketing team hadn't thought of before, or do you feel like it was all the learning was on your side?
No, that'd be a good question to ask, like the marketing team, the people I worked with. But if I had to kind of put myself in their shoes, I was much more. I spoke developer speak, so I felt like I had a little more connection to the developer, where I can go over there and be like, I could ask for exactly what I need, and I also understood that some stuff that they say is finished really is not finished, and and when I opened up an animation or a render, I could see like, oh, it's missing the specular highlights, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I got that side where some of the marketing team, since they weren't part of a game development for so long, that they kind of oversee or they overlook. Other things I probably brought was a lot more, and I probably drove them crazy for this, but I'm a big narrative, like story guy. I always try to have a little bit of a story, even like a little 10-second ad. And that's something I'm actually trying to work on and cut back from, because it doesn't have to, as I was just saying, it doesn't have to be this big epic piece. But I kind of bring a little more of that to it as well. Like just like the little story and the glue that connects these visuals together. So like one of the most frustrating encounters I ever had was, and this was an internal marketing group, so I'm sure there's already like many layers of communication breakdowns that can happen, where it was for a cover for a game, and they said, hey, here's the sketch that we're thinking for the cover. What do you think? And we gave a bunch of notes of, this is why this pose is wrong, this is why the style is wrong, like, and let me pose this for you, let me give you the models, and then nothing changed, right? And
I'm sort of interested in then, like, obviously there was that communication breakdown, but is there like a magic word or phrase that a developer can use when talking
Pineapple.
marketing that's gonna, but no, like something that's gonna make them like go, oh, okay, no, this is an important thing, or there's something that sort of unlocks that like, hey, okay, I'm excited about this now too, or something like that. Like,
yeah, that's hard if you're way down. In the timelines are tight and you're down the development cycle. That's why I mentioned, getting to know the marketing department earlier, because you can actually set expectations and calibrate your marketing team in a way by sharing like cool stuff that competitors are doing or stuff that you're doing, because it gets it in front of their eyes beforehand. And I've had the exact same experience. I don't know if you've seen the Web of Shadows cover art. I mean, it's like Spider-Man's holding a snow globe of New York City. It's terrible. So I've been in that same boat. My guess too is if it's a bigger property, is that that property liked it or the brand liked it. Someone higher up in the company liked it. That is hard to if the chief operating officer thinks it's amazing, it's hard to kind of go against them sometimes.
Sure.
Or they just weren't listening to you guys, which does happen too. It shouldn't happen, but it does.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We can hug again.
Maybe later. I think, are we? All right. Well, I think we're good to go. Man, that was awesome. Thank you. We'll continue chatting and hanging out. Yeah. All right. So next, super excited for this one. We have Marion and Afshin. They're going to be showing off Frostbite animation tools. This is like one of the first times that EA's allowed their animation tools to be shown to the public. Wow. And they're going to get to show it now. And this is super crazy awesome. So take it away.